Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. Week 3 Thursday night football showdown between the New York Giants and the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers big favorites in this one. They are clearly the better team, but stranger things have happened. Anytime that we get a showdown slate, you know that because every touchdown and every point is so valuable, anything can happen. We just watched the 49ers give up a ton of points and yards to the Los Angeles Rams in week 2, so do the Giants have more of a fighting chance than this 10-point spread suggests? We're going to find out. I'm going to dive into all the different captains that I think are viable. We're going to take a look at the Fantasy Labs Optimizer and build a bunch of lineups, as well as building a pick'em card over on Underdog Fantasy. So thank you guys for being here. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, and let's go.
He's a legend.
The Week 3 Smiz Gang Listener League, $10 to enter, 3 max, $40,000 in the prize pool. Absolutely no rake. If you want to get into this, it does not exist in the DraftKings lobby. You have to use my link to get there. Go to smizzle.tv/links. That link tree will have the button you can click to go into the Listener League, enter your lineup. You can have 3 at most. I will shout out the winners on the Al Smizzle Fantasy Football channel on the recap video next Monday, and the 17 regular season winners will be entered into a battle royale in week 18 where they're going to play for some fun prizes at the end of the season. So make sure that you get in the Listener League today. Let's take a look at this slate. We have, what do we have? $2.25 million, $1 million the first. If you can get unique and win this one, if some strange stuff happens, you could walk away with $1 million. More than likely, you're going to be splitting with some people. We want to try and build lineups so that we will split with as few people as possible, as opposed to holding hands with like 75 to 150 people. If you split with 5 to 15 people, you end up winning a lot more money. We've been successful at doing that in the past. Let's take a look using the formula that I use pretty much every single week of identifying captains. And my captains that I tend to use, I isolate to the players that I think have the highest probability of being the leading scorer in terms of DraftKings points by the end of the night. I don't want to go really cheap on captain and say, well, look, if I go with like Kyle Juszczyk at captain, then look at what else I can fit into this lineup. I can basically get everybody that I want and have like one mid-range value play, right? Like maybe Jalen Hyatt gets loose. But the problem is, on a night like that, it would require a lot of crazy things to happen. Like Juszczyk has a touchdown or 2. More than likely, he ends with like 15 or 18 fantasy points. And all these guys would have to not have one really big day, because that 1.5x that they get for that captain spot, the captain is typically one of the top 2 or 3 scorers on the night, and I don't think that those super value plays have that possibility. So we're going to isolate to the top guys. Number 1 being Christian McCaffrey. He is who we thought he was. He is phenomenal. He has not seen a dip in his volume, something that a lot of people thought was going to be the harm. He used to be a guy who would get us 25 opportunities per game, and guess what? Through 2 weeks, he's averaging, check my math here, carry the 1, 25 opportunities per game. 27 in week 1, 23 in week 2. Yep, that math checks out. 3 targets, 5 targets. Look, obviously, if he was to have like 6, 7, 8 targets, that would be better, but we're not always going to get that. He is their preferred choice inside the 5-yard line. We know what he can do in the passing game. He just hasn't broken a long one just yet. He is ceding some carries to other players, also to Deebo Samuel, but still getting his 20 carries a game. Targets are more valuable. He is a game-breaking player, averaging 27.2 through the first 2 games of this season, albeit with a touchdown in each one. The beautiful thing about Christian McCaffrey is he has such a high floor. He is running behind the best offensive line that he's ever run behind in his entire career. He is on a great offense as opposed to a middling offense where he doesn't have to carry things as much. Now they can scheme to get him the ball in space. He is clearly the optimal captain on this slate. 19.8 to go get him. He is 3,300 more than Saquon Barkley, and Saquon, he ain't gonna be there. Nope. Rolled his ankle, an ordinary ankle sprain, which I guess is a good thing because it's not a high ankle sprain. He's out. That opens up Matt Breida. Now, I'm not somebody who thinks that Matt Breida is the type of player, from what he's shown us in his career, of being able to be somebody who is able to handle 20 plus opportunities. Whether it's for 1 week or it's for 2, 3, 4 weeks, he's just not that type of guy. Health has been an issue for him in the past. Staying healthy has been an issue for him in the past. Maybe they sign somebody off the street, bring somebody up off the practice squad. I think Matt Breida gets 15 opportunities, maybe 10 carries, 5 targets in this game. We saw Kyren Williams light up the 49ers last week in week 2. We have a situation where maybe he is able to give them meaningful situations. I love him if you're playing in your fantasy football leagues against your friends, but in daily fantasy, it's a different story. Don't love him this week against San Francisco, but easier rowing ahead for the Giants if you look at their schedule. But like in terms of Thursday night, short week, he's going to get some touches. He's going to get some opportunities. Not somebody that I want to use in my captain spot. I'm going to leave that for somebody else. And if that's how I lose, then that's how I lose. If Matt Breida has a 27-point DraftKings night and he is a 42-point night a 40-point night in terms of being in the captain spot, then guess what? That's just how I'm going to lose this week. Daniel Jones, he could do some things. Not the ideal opportunity, but you know what my favorite thing about his box score chart is? It's not the fact that he had 35 points last week. We know the difference between the gap between his floor and his ceiling. Really tough defense, 6 points. Really easier defense, 35 points, and they were in a hole, so he had to throw it a lot more, 37 times. But it's these rushing attempts. 9 rushing attempts, 13 rushing attempts. He is a big boy. He is about 6'4", 6'5". You don't think of him like a running QB, but they handle him like a running QB, letting him get out there on design runs and scrambles when he has to get away from traffic inside the pocket. That's going to give him this massive floor. He can also get in there with his legs, giving you a big-time ceiling on top of having a better wide receiver or pass-catching group with Darren Waller and Jalen Hyatt, the rookie, who's super-duper fast. Hodgins is fine. They've got guys that can do things once they get the ball in their hands and a coach that can make it happen. So I don't hate Daniel Jones at captain in this game, even though it is a road situation against a really tough defense. If you made Rams double stacks last week with Stafford and Puka and Tutu, you probably were all right. Hell, you could have done a running back wide receiver quarterback stack with Kyren Williams and Stafford and Puka and been just fine. I'm not saying that that's going to be the route for Daniel Jones, but it's not a 0 probability thing. If I do have Daniel Jones in my captain spot, I'm going to make sure that I have 2 of his pass catchers, because if you're putting a player in your captain, you're saying they're scoring 30 DraftKings points tonight. And in the case that they score 30 DraftKings points, what is happening on the other end of that? So quarterbacks who are going to score 30 DraftKings points, I'm building a group that includes Darren Waller. I'm not going to include Breida in that, but I will include Hodgins and Slayton and Hyatt, Paris Campbell as well. The kicker, Gano. Every kicker correlates better with their quarterback, because if the team scores 30 points, that means the kicker had a good enough night. And when it comes to Showdown, if Jones has that 30-plus DraftKings night, it means that the kicker scored hopefully a good amount of points, enough to be a value to pay off that salary that they're at. So 2+ pass catchers to go along with my quarterback group. On the other side, his counterpart, Brock Purdy, the pizza man, has been doing quite well. They're limiting his opportunities. He is, doing what he's supposed to do. Like, what else do you want from the kid? He's not here to put up 30 DraftKings point days. So I am going to limit my quarterbacks at captain in this one. The public tends to roster captain at quarterback way more often than it ends up being the optimal winner in Showdown. And neither of these quarterbacks in this particular situation look to be in a spot where they're going to be the optimal player overall. I will allow them to be there, but I'm probably going to cap both at about 5% in the captain spot, but same rules apply for Brock Purdy. If Brock Purdy has a 25+ DraftKings point night, that means that Chris McCaffrey is going to go off. More than likely, it's going to include him in that group. Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, we'll get to them in just a bit. George Kittle's going to go off in that situation. We'll include Moody in that group, Jennings if you want, and I'm going to make sure that at least 2 of them are in there, as well as skill position players from the other side, not kicker, not defense, but skill position players from the other side of the game. Couple other captains that I wanted to talk about. I'm not doing this to flip-flop on you, but we were, Brandon Ayuk was the play in week 1 because 49ers are playing against man-to-man defense. In week 2, coming off of that massive Brandon Ayuk week in week 1, where is it? 8 catches, 8 targets, 2 touchdowns. The call from me on our cheat sheet, and if you don't have the cheat sheet, here's the rules. People say, how do I get the cheat sheet? Here's how you get the cheat sheet for the main slate every week. Go to smizzle.tv/join, or just click the join button down below the screen. Become a channel member here on YouTube. It's $5 a month. Then go to smizzle.tv/discord, follow the instructions in the instructions folder, and link your Discord to your YouTube channel. Your name will turn red as a YouTube channel member, and every Friday afternoon I post a cheat sheet that you can see on the Fantasy Football channel in the recap video. See how last week's did, see the layout if it looks good, something that you'd be interested in, and that comes out every Friday afternoon. So that's how you'd get the cheat sheet for the afternoon on Fridays. But I advocated to have Deebo Samuel because they were playing against zone defense, and historically the 49ers, when it goes between Ayuk and Samuel, they prioritize Deebo plays against zone. He is a zone killer. They prioritize, and the Rams do play a ton of zone, some of the most in the league, and when they play against man-to-man, they tend to prioritize Brandon Ayuk. Well, guess what? The Giants played more man-to-man coverage than any other team in the NFL at 45.5% last year. On top of that, the Giants play more cover zero coverage. That means no safety over the top. Wink Martindale loves to put his cornerbacks out on islands, his defensive players out on islands. I think that's a recipe for disaster against an offense that is as well coached, as well game planned, and as varied as the San Francisco 49ers. So I would prefer Brandon Ayuk in this game. And I know I've pronounced his name two different ways so far in this video. I apologize. Maybe I'll pronounce it a third way before we get out of here. But I think that he is a massive opportunity. On early down situations, the Giants last year played cover zero 13% of the time. Baltimore was second in the league at 7.5%. That's how much cover zero and how much, you ever played Madden against a guy that just does engage 8 like all the time? That's Wink Martindale. On third down, they play cover zero 22% of the time. So you don't think that the 49ers have this dialed up, and we know that against man-to-man coverage teams, Brandon Ayuk does tend to have his better games, and we know that Purdy has prioritized him. People love to say, well, Purdy just loves Brandon Ayuk. Well, it's the game plan and what they kind of go against. So this is a man-to-man week. I think Brandon Ayuk makes a fantastic captain for this week because of the big-time ceiling that he has. We have a news update on Brandon Ayuk. At the time I was recording, I was not aware of the MRI, the CAT scan that they had on the AC joint injury to Brandon Ayuk. Basically, his status for Thursday night is all about pain tolerance at this point. So I'm going with my usual aspect of, look, we're 48 hours out right now, so you have to monitor this as the days go along. We'll know before the game if he is active or inactive. They have some great drugs at the NFL level that are going to let us know, let him not feel any pain. And if he's inactive, we have a couple of spots that we can look to on this team. One, the first thing that it's going to do, it's going to bump George Kittle and my interest in him, because of not one person going to take on all of Brandon Ayuk's target market share for that game. It's also going to solidify Deebo Samuel as probably a 8-9 plus target player if he is out, if he is limited. Somebody like Juwan Jennings obviously gets a playing time bump in terms of snaps and possible targets and touches. I'm not going to be considering him for the captain spot. 4,800 though makes a more than viable flex and probably one of the more popular players on the slate. And then we're going to figure out who is right behind them, because a lot of options at wide receiver who are very cheap and are going to see more opportunity this week as the game gets closer. So make sure you join the Discord, become a channel member, as we have a very active Showdown community of members between our Twitch subs and our YouTube channel members, trying to figure out the right answers all the way up until lineups lock in Discord. Get back to the video. And when you're playing a captain, you're looking to identify ceiling in any lineup that has a pass catcher. As the captain, I'm going to make sure that the quarterback is tied to them. That doesn't mean that I think that you should fully fade Deebo Samuel at captain. I just think that people are going to go and play whack-a-mole. So the way that casual players play is they look at the box score and they say, wow, Deebo Samuel had such a good week last week. He was on the Millionaire Maker winner. He had 22 fantasy points. I didn't play him. I'm going to click Deebo Samuel. So Deebo Samuel is going to probably carry more usage than Brandon Ayuk, unless the projection sites project Brandon to have a higher score, which I'm not sure that they're going to. Usually projections are playing for median. Both will have a similar ceiling to one another, which is why I think they're both viable captains. On the other side of the ball, my final two captains are both the tight ends. Darren Waller, who it just plugged into the flex because, DraftKings is just going to do whatever it wants. But Darren Waller, for all of his tattoos, 8 targets last week in a comeback victory. We know that we have downfield possibilities. He does operate mostly in the first 10 to 12 yards of the line of scrimmage. He's a low ADOT guy. They have plenty of players to stretch the field, which opens things up in there for him. I don't like targeting anything against San Francisco. Typically, I just try to find easier paths. But if you're going to attack them, attacking them with slot receivers, attacking them with low ADOT players that have a better path on DraftKings with full point PPR and bonuses gives you a little bit of a better, easier path to fantasy points because they are so talented defensively, both on the line and down the field. Again, if I'm going to be playing him in a lineup, I'm going to tie Daniel Jones to those lineups. In this sort of a game, I give this speech to you guys every single week, and it's not going to be any different. I am probably going to set my rule, like I do all the time, to include one of the defense and kicker in any lineup. You are free to do what you want. If you want to play Moody and the 49ers defense at flex because you think it opens up more than enough for you, you think that the Niners are going to score 1 touchdown on defense, or have a ton of sacks against the Giants, and Daniel Jones does turn the ball over a lot, and they're gonna have 35 points, therefore Moody's gonna have enough points, better than somebody that's a cheap value play, go for it. But the kickers are kind of capped on ceiling, so I tend to limit to one of them. Last captain, George Kittle, same sort of a thing, as we said before. It's just there's a lot of mouths to feed right now. He's going to have spike weeks. I can't predictably tell you when they're going to happen, but we've seen him do it last year, I think against Arizona twice. He has these massive games where he has 7-8 catches for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. But right now, there's no predictability about when that's going to happen. And I think that he is probably the 4th option in this offense behind some very talented players, where on other teams, he'd be the ace. He'd be the number 1 guy. So product of the situation, and just always happy to be here. Love George Kittle. He's an amazing player. He is captain viable. Same sort of a rule. I didn't say flex viable. I said DraftKings. Get with it. Is definitely captain viable, but it's a little bit thinner than the other plays. I'm going to wait until Thursday afternoon for that one before I make my decision. And that decision is going to be based on where all the different sites have his projected captain number at. If he's 1, 2, 3% in captain, then it's very easy to overweight the field with 10. And then you have, if that spike week does happen, you give yourself a much better chance. Let's head over to Underdog Fantasy. Take a look over there. If you do not have an account over at Underdog, you should get one. They have up to $100 deposit bonus on your first deposit to the site if you use promo code ALSMIZZLE, all one word, ALSMIZZLE, all one word. Smoosh it right together. They have a bonus. He needs 1 yard. So I'm going to take Daniel Jones higher than 0.5 total yards on the slate. I don't think I need to, correlate that with anything on the Giants because he just needs over 0.5. I'm going to take higher than 79.5 yards rushing for Christian McCaffrey. I think he handled 97% of the snaps last week. He's back to that sort of usage. I don't think that's going to sustain, but he's getting an awful lot of run. And I don't see an Ayuk thing. So that's disappointing. I wanted to play him. I really did. I really, 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 really did. I'm going to take higher than 54 receiving yards off for Deebo Samuel. Jones to McCaffrey to Samuel. I don't think I play this for that because it's a special. We'll go with $10 on that one. Submit. Take a look at that. And there's my ticket right there. And if you do not have an account over at Unabated Sports, go to smizzle.tv/bet if you are a sports bettor and want to become better at shopping for value on all the different sites that are legal in your state, as well as the perfect pick'em, survivor pools, everything else. They have a better way for you to make more informed decisions over at Unabated Sports. Go to smizzle.tv/bet and get a discounted membership today. Let's head over to Fantasy Labs and take a look at what they've got. This is the rules that I put in. Just like I talked about on the video, pair your captain quarterback with at least 2 wide receiver, tight end, or kickers from the same team. Pair your captain quarterback with at least 1 skill position player from the other side. Captain wide receiver, exactly 1 quarterback from the same team. Captain tight end, same thing. I'm tying my quarterback to them because if they have a big day, the quarterback had a good enough day as well. And I'm going to limit to at most 1 defense and kicker from the same game, period. The rule that I love to put in, and it's going to be either 1 or 2. I'm on at least 1. Sometimes I'll say, give me 2 players that the projected ownership percentage is less than 25% because I want to get differentiation and variation in my lineups when it comes to Showdown, because we don't want to hold hands with 150 people by having the chalkiest lineup out there. So force at least one, possibly two really low played players in your lineups. You click submit. You get your 150 lineups on Showdown very easily that you can play in the Minimax. Just realize that you're not going to be able to just run there and click submit and make it. Go to smizzle.tv/labs with an uppercase L for the discounted membership over there. Good luck to you this week on Thursday night. I'll see you in Discord. Bye, everybody.
He's a legend.